Morning Birds fans, a Tuesday morning get together on the Mac and Mac Birds 365 show here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. We got 2 hours of Eagle Sports Talk coming your way, and two good guests. We'll give you the details on those guys joining us coming up in just a couple of minutes. Johnny Mac, know you had to head over to South Philly yesterday to hear from the newest Eagle quarterback, Kenny Pickett. Seems like he's happy to be here. Did a nice job. I thought he answered all the questions you guys fired at him, and those that he couldn't answer or chose not to answer, he deftly avoided and did a good job at that. Seems like a smart young man. Seems like a guy who wants to be here. Doesn't seem like a guy who's going to come in and rock the boat, which is one of the things that has kind of bothered me the last couple of days. Last night I was on WIP about the whole Kenny Pickett, Justin Fields thing, that the Eagles made a good trade because it will bother Jalen less. Really? Are we going back down to Carson Wentz?
I don't think either are going to bother Jalen a minute. They could have gotten Justin Fields. I don't think either. He's not that guy. Yeah, I mean, the assumption that he's got the same personality as Carson Wentz is lunacy, number one. You've seen enough of the guy. And both quarterbacks, you can have your flavors. We argued it yesterday. I prefer Pickett. You prefer Fields. Both haven't been successful. I mean, why would he be looking in his rearview mirror at these two? I mean, come on. It's the NFL. Yeah, no way. I mean, either or both. You could have, how about a second string, both of them, second and third string? He wouldn't care. Yeah, I don't get those people.
The only team doing that is the Cleveland Browns, who are up to 4 quarterbacks now yesterday with the signing of Tyler Huntley. I don't really understand why you need 4 quarterbacks. 2 should be enough. Eagles got their development quarterback, so they're perfectly fine at 3. But I got to admit, I was impressed by the young man. I thought he handled himself well. It doesn't amount to a whole hell of a lot. It's what you do on the field that matters. And the fact that he gave a good press conference in his introduction, or reintroduction, I should say, to Philadelphia. He played up on that pretty good. Now his mother and father only have to drive an hour and a half to watch him play. The only problem is he's not going to play. If they want to drive an hour and a half to watch him carry a clipboard, they can do that here in Philadelphia this year. But I like what the young man had to say. I think he handled himself well. And that's what you need out of your backup quarterback. He has to be a team guy. Talked about, quote unquote, the room, and he's looking forward to getting in the room. And he's already met McKee and Jalen and the like. So if you're talking about a backup guy, he's a backup guy, and you shouldn't get all that motivated by him one way or the other. But when you're talking about quarterback, I think there is an added importance there, John, as to how he fills his role on the team.
No, I agree. I mean, the Eagles have shown it. They care about backup quarterback a little bit more than most teams. Probably most teams should take the Eagles tact.
Agreed.
And you know, they've needed it in the past, and it's worked for them in the past. You know, I think that's kind of, that outlier's kind of overemphasized also, because it's not like it's going to happen all the time. That was a rare run by Nick Foles, and you can't lean on that, but you do want to spend some time on the position, and you want to put some serious, because there's nothing worse when you lose your starting quarterback and your season is over. Now, a lot of people use the hyperbole of, oh, your season's over. And I do it myself, so I'm not criticizing that. But
and oftentimes I'd suggest you're probably right.
Yeah, well, sometimes you are
right. Shouldn't do it, but just because it's not the right thing to do. Well, if you want to, it's a projection, it's a prediction, it's an opinion, and sometimes your opinion's right. Sometimes you got to eat crow afterwards. But I got no problem with anybody who says, "Up, season's over."
Yeah, and sometimes it's the case. You look at Kirk Cousins last season. Sometimes it's not the case. You look at Deshaun Watson. Eventually, Cleveland was able to catch sort of a lightning bolt with Joe Flacco, and at least get to the playoffs and have some success, and really some pretty impressive games with a veteran backup quarterback. And, you know, in the case Cousins goes down, boy, I think they use 3 different quarterbacks. They're going back and forth, different skill sets, different styles. just a disaster. So I think the Eagles always have a plan in place to at least have competency at the backup quarterback position. I do think, as I said yesterday, I think Kenny Pickett can bring that to them. As far as his presence, yeah, I mean, the guy's been a long time starting quarterback. He's used to it. Even if you go back to college at Pitt,
Right. Played 5 years.
you know, those guys talk all the time at the college level, and they're used to it. And then he goes to the Steelers, and he's a starter there, for most of the time over the past 2 years. So he's used to it. It's no surprise he's good at it, at least somewhat. So, yeah, I think I said yesterday, as far as when I grade, so to speak, some of these moves individually, some I like, as we know, some I dislike. This one I like. I think it makes a lot of sense. You got a cost-effective backup, just as Jalen Hurts. Even though they structured the Jalen Hurts contract very well, still you're paying more than you were. And this is about when it kicks in. So you have the cost-effective nature of the backup, and we see what backup quarterbacks are costing now. Pretty expensive. And I think it makes a lot of sense. I think he can bring competency, win a game or two. I think he's better than Gardner Minshew. I thought Gardner Minshew was a good backup quarterback at the time. Now, since Gardner has played and been successful for Indianapolis, we'll see what he does in Las Vegas. I think it's in the same vein there. And I like it. I like the move. I hope play though.
Right. I'm okay. Right. The whole thing everyone's rooting for is we can all have opinions on what he could do, what he should do, what the Eagles could have done. It could have been different. Bottom line is you hope he never sees the field.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Please do a great job of wearing that ball cap and carrying that clipboard, Kenny, because we'd rather have Jalen Hurts stay healthy and play all 17 games, which is the funny part of it. But again, to the Eagles' credit, they put a value on the backup quarterback position. And I think it's a smart way to handle their business. There are some teams that don't do as much and have probably paid the price over the years. So I'll give Howie Roseman credit for that. I just think I think it's a solid B move. I think they could have made an A move, but you still don't turn your nose up at a B move at this. All right. And one other thing I want to get to with you before Marcus Hayes is going to be our first guest, and we'll punch up Marcus in less than 10 minutes. Report came out last night. Shoot, while I was on the air. You don't usually get NFL nuggets at 10:30, quarter to 11 at night. But Jeremy Fowler reported last night that the Eagles and Hassan Reddick had agreed to push a bonus that he was due on March 15th. So they'd already done it. It just got reported last night, a couple days late, that was due on March 15th, $1 million bonus, back to April 1st. And the belief is they did so because the Eagles are getting traction, getting closer to a potential trade for Hassan Reddick. And that's why Hassan signed off on, if we need to hold up the bonus so as to get the trade to go through, so be it, he'll wait an extra 16 days. Hassan's made a bunch of money playing in national football. I don't think the 15 days is going to kill him.
He can wait a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to kill him one way or the other. But I think it's a fair assumption to read into that, they're making progress on a trade for Hassan Reddick. I still, depending on what they get in exchange for him, I don't think it's going to be a whole hell of a lot. It looks like Hassan Reddick we're getting that much closer to him being out the door, John. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's short term. I think it's a bad thing. Long term, we'll see. I think a lot depends on Bryce Huff, who's a certain degree unproven. Certainly, he's a 3-down player. And Nolan Smith. Don't forget Nolan Smith, because he's a big part of this as well, who obviously is still dramatically unproven, to say the least. So I think short term, you're certainly taking a hit, but you got to juggle, and it's hard. And just projecting, even if you want to go the low end on a potentially renegotiated deal with Hassan Reddick, you're talking 19-20 million, I would think, at the floor of it. Can you pay 3 edge rushers it's pay and play, really. Can you pay 3 over $10 million? So let's say 19, 17, 10 with Reddick, Huff, Sweat. Maybe you can do that in the elevated salary cap world, the big spike. Maybe it's the most valued position outside quarterback, arguably. Maybe you can do it. But you also, I mean, I believe Howie Roseman, when he was talking at the combine, he seems to really want to get Nolan Smith involved. And we know GMs with first round picks, they don't want first round picks to fail. They never do. Right. Howie's not alone in that category. They never want those guys to fail. So, I mean, the play part of it as well. How many, and you still have Brandon Graham, old reliable, old faithful, who's still going to be here for a 15th year. Now, injuries are a part of it, but you only got 53 roster spots. You got to juggle it the right way. I still think it's more likely Hassan gets traded, but the 2 weeks you can't throw out the equation that maybe it's renegotiation as well. What comes first? Maybe he agrees to take 17 million. And at that price point, the Eagles go, you know what? This is too good of a deal. Who knows? I doubt it because Huff's making 17 million. But you get the point. You got to leave the door open. And the same thing happened with Slay. Slay took less money, essentially, got an extra year, got guaranteed money, but took less money on paper. And all of a sudden he was back and people thought he was out the door. Hell, he said goodbye. He and his wife said goodbye to Philadelphia. And then he was back. So you never say never, but it certainly looks like the Eagles are about to move on from Hassan Reddick.
The only thing that came off the table for me last night, and I'll get your take on this, and we'll run this by Marcus when we punch him up. The Eagles now can't cut Hassan Reddick without paying him that $1 million. You can't ask the guy to show a little bit more patience and then turn around and take advantage and go on March 29th. Yeah, we couldn't get the deal done. Hassan, you're not accepting our lesser proposal than you think you're worth. Here are your welcome papers. Thank you very much for your time spent with the Eagles. Can't do that. That's just bad faith. There's good faith and bad faith. That would be bad faith if they ask them to push back the bonus and then go, yeah, we're going to cut you before the bonus actually takes place.
Yeah, I never put that too much on the table personally. I never thought Howie was going to cut him. So I didn't think about that too much. But yeah, certainly if you're going to pay that money, you're certainly not going to cut him. And if you're not going to pay that money and you kicked it back 2 weeks, you do look like a dick.
Yeah, and that would go to Jeff Lurie too.
Yes,
that's something Howie just can't do with the swirl of a pen. He'd need to run that by his owner first. And that would make the owner look really bad too if the Eagles.
Yeah, and
I'm not suggesting I think they're going to do this or keep an eye out for it. It's probably very, 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 very unlikely. I hope it is sure as hell unlikely because you can't.
No, I think Jeffrey Lurie takes pride in his team-friendly reputation, player-friendly reputation that his organization has. So, yeah, I agree with you. There's no way they're cutting him. No way.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. All right, he's McMullen. I'm McDonald. That makes it Mac and Mac Birds 365. We got one of our favorites, one of the best in town. He covers the Eagles, but he covers absolutely everything. One of the lead columnists for the Philadelphia Inquirer. We got him on today to talk about the Birds with us. Marcus Hayes, Inquirer, WIP, joined us next here on Birds 365.